Hello, everyone. Welcome to All Things College and Career, the podcast to turn to for all of your college and career planning needs. We are your hosts, Meg Gary
and Bobby Ryan,
owners of academic and career advising services located in Kennebunk, Maine.
We started this podcast to provide helpful information to listeners researching careers, colleges, or academic majors. Choosing your career or college is such a big decision, which is why our motto is learn before you leap. Before investing a lot of time or money, it's so important to do your research and to really explore your options.
Each podcast will offer interesting stories and valuable insights that we think you will find entertaining and informative.
Subscribe to our podcast and you'll have it ready to go on your playlist every Monday morning. So, learn before you leap each week with us.
Today's guest is Jill Boyce, a registered dietitian and a certified diabetes educator.
Jill currently has 2 jobs, one in private practice at Savor Food, Life and Health in Saco, Maine, and one as a diabetes educator with Type 1 Pediatrics in Portland. Today we asked Jill about both of her jobs, what it takes to become a registered dietitian and diabetes educator, what the education and professional training is like, what a typical day is like on the job, and the advantages and drawbacks of her profession.
Jill tells us all about her college experiences at Merrimack in North Andover, Mass, and the University of Maine in Orono. We even touch on her high school and college field hockey career.
Any listener considering becoming a registered dietitian or a certified diabetes educator or considering Merrimack or the University of Maine will find Jill's take very interesting and informative.
And even if you have none of these interests at all, we think you will enjoy our conversation with Jill.
Definitely. So let's get started.
Hello, Jill Boyce. Welcome to All Things College and Career. Thanks so much for doing the podcast today. So excited to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Hey there, Jill. I'm glad you're here today. I just want to point out today we're in our office in Kennebunk, so it's nice to be in person. We always love that.
Absolutely,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, and a beautiful day in Maine, and we're happy about that. So
we're all high-fiving each other.
Exactly, because it's not every day. So yeah, we'll get right into this with you, Jill. As a registered dietitian, and I know you're in 2 positions now, so what are 3 things you love about your job?
Yes, I work for a private practice 2 days a week, and then I work with Type 1 Pediatric in the outpatient setting. So I love about the private practice, I just love the flexibility with it because I can really set my own hours. So if there are people that work that typical 9 to 5 job, I'm able to see them before they head into work or after. I'll stay later some nights and kind of just set my schedule. So
well, that's good to know for people out there listening that they don't have to worry if they are working, that you're a little bit flexible that way.
Yeah, I also love just about the 2 in general. I work with pediatric all the way up to geriatric. So I see the whole gamut and I really get to work with all the ages and stages of life.
Mm-hmm. I love that variety.
Yeah, and do you have a preference between pediatric, geriatric, or...
Not really. Just mainly in the private practice setting, it's people coming to me because they want to be there. Mm-hmm. So as opposed sometimes in the pediatric setting, they're coming, one, because they have to, so they're insulin dependent kiddos that
right.
Need that guidance, or a lot of times in that nutrition position with them, their parents want them to come, or their doctors are highly recommending it. So it really just depends on where the client's at. Obviously, I love to work with the whole spectrum, but the ones that are coming to me because they want to are always the fun ones.
Absolutely. And they must be coming with such an open mind and willingness to take in whatever you're teaching them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. So that was kind of like 1 and 2 together right there. Yeah. That makes sense. Yep.
Yeah. And then one thing I really like about it is nutrition is just ever changing. So it's really my clients that keep me on my toes. Because,
no kidding.
Yeah.
I read this article. What do you think?
Right.
And that kind of stuff.
And then I have to really dive in and do the research and say this is really not the greatest thing for your body, or wow, this is great information. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, it's fun to stay on top of your field or profession and have a constant learning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know a lot of doctors are like, oh my God, stay off Google.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, I know, right?
Yes,
Or
Google.
they come in
Yeah.
and like, well, I read this. And
Right.
And as you say, there's some good information out there and there's some really bad information out
Right.
there.
And that's what I love about my job is I get to help people navigate their
Yeah,
way through all of that
absolutely.
information, which really, again, keeps me on my toes and also just current with the newest research out there.
Yeah, exactly. That's
That's
awesome.
good. Now, as a registered dietitian, are you required to take tests in order to keep current with your profession?
Yeah, so once you become a dietitian, you actually are required to have 75 hours in 5 years of continuing education. So you make a plan based on kind of what career path you go down as a dietitian, and then every year you need 15 hours, and then every 5 years is that 75 hours, and you have to submit that plan in order to stay current. So if I didn't get 15 hours in a year, or if I don't submit my plan every 5 years, I could lose my credential.
Yeah.
So how do you earn those hours? Do you have to go to conferences or?
Yep, that, or like if I did any talks, a lot of like a book club is one of them. So it has to just be 3 or more dietitians in a book club reading some sort of current research and sitting down and meeting, seminars, webinars,
Yeah.
conferences.
So there's a lot of flexibility
Yeah,
there. It's
yeah.
you
But
have to
no
be-
testing. No like
Unless
have to take this test every 5 years.
No, gosh,
Yeah,
no, not to my understanding.
Thankfully.
They're changing things though.
I always feel so bad for people in those, like, I can't imagine being tested like Meg's husband.
Yeah.
You know,
I think it's every 10
periodically.
years.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
still, just the thought of in 10 years, I got to take this test. And I
Yeah.
know why they do it.
Yeah.
Right.
But
They want to make sure you stay current.
yeah, but it's that pressure. And gosh, as we get older, the thought of taking a test.
I know,
I
right?
scares
know.
me.
I think there is a new way now that they just sent out new guidelines that were kind of hard to understand. I talked with a bunch of other dietitians and we were like, what does this mean?
Oh, gosh.
But I think what we kind of combed through, it's basically if you don't do the 75 or you want to opt out of it, you can just take the test.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Which I'll
So for
just keep
test
learning.
takers. Yeah, I choose
Totally,
the learning.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Myself as well,
Yeah,
definitely.
Not happy about the test taken.
Yeah. So, Jill, can we talk about where it all began?
Absolutely.
So, what made you decide to go into this field?
So initially I went to college. I went to Merrimack College to play field hockey.
Right.
I
Yeah.
had no idea what I
What
wanted
position?
to do. I started as a forward. That's what I
Okay.
played in high school. And then in college, I transitioned back to a midi.
Midi. Yeah.
Yeah, so I had no idea. So I was paying a lot of money to play field hockey.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I knew I wanted to go into the health field, but I just wasn't really sure in which direction. Like, did I want to do nursing? Did I want to do
Right.
physician's assistant? At one point, I wanted to be an optometrist. So I just went into health science.
Right.
So
Which
I really took
That's
my...
a good thing to do for listeners if you're unsure. And how many people at 18 really do know? It's a
Right.
tough one.
Right.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know what a dietitian was.
I bet.
I didn't know
Yeah.
they existed.
No.
I didn't.
Yeah.
So my sophomore year, my second year, I got injured, and so I wasn't playing, and I was just unhappy. I was in like my core organic chemistry and all the fun classes, and I was like, I don't know what I want.
Right.
Yeah.
So I took a kind of a step back my second semester of sophomore year, and I just took 4 random classes that I didn't even need for, well, I didn't know what I needed at that point.
Right.
Because I was like,
You just knew you needed a change.
Yeah, so
Shake it up.
So I took a psychology class, a music class, a nutrition class, and I don't remember the 4th one, but I fell in love with nutrition. Yeah, so what was nice about it and what I realized was I was still getting that anatomy, physiology, that chemistry, but it was for that purpose, right?
Right.
So
it suddenly it had more value to you or interest or
yeah, exactly. So I was able to say, hey, like I can still do the maths and the sciences and all of these things that I really enjoy, but I get to also work with people that we all relate to food, right? So everybody, whether it's a good relationship, a bad relationship,
We all have that in common.
Absolutely.
We
So
all eat.
Somebody is born and we bring sharing food.
Right.
And somebody dies and we mourn with food, or, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. Let's go grab some dinner.
Exactly.
Right.
So I loved that.
Is beer food or?
Little nutritional value, but it's made from wheat, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Right.
Kudos to the wheat.
I was a little upset when the anti-carb thing came.
Yeah, I know. What was up with that?
I know.
Because wine and beer.
So
Anyway.
that's really how it all began. So I looked into 3 schools that had an accredited nutrition program, and Merrimack didn't have a nutrition program.
Oh, so that's what really inspired your decision to move on to UMaine.
Yes, yeah. I could have gone about it in a very roundabout way, and you can do that. There are ways to do it.
Right.
Not getting that 4-year degree in nutrition and just taking some supplemental nutrition classes. But I was like, all right, I know what I want to do. And at this point, Merrimack wasn't offering that. I think they do now, which is great.
Oh, no kidding.
I think so. So
Yeah.
I transferred to UMaine.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
You probably saved yourself some money because
Lots of
it's
money.
a state university. And
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Just for the listeners interested in Merrimack and UMaine, can you just tell a little bit about both of those colleges?
Yeah, absolutely. So Merrimack was a smaller school. They've expanded a lot since I've been there, but it was a smaller private school in Massachusetts. It's about 30 minutes north of Boston, and it was wonderful. I mean, some of my best friends today come from Merrimack.
Right.
So I loved the school. I loved it was very small, so you're seeing the same faces every day when you're walking to classes. I was a student athlete, so, a lot of the other athletes there, you see on a regular basis.
Right.
You're there before other students come in, so you're able to meet these people.
Which is so nice.
Yeah, you have that in common, but it's also nice.
Sounds like a nice situation for somebody just coming out of high school.
Yes.
It's a little less intimidating.
Yes, definitely.
One of my close friends' daughter is playing field hockey for Merrimack.
Oh, no
She's
way.
good. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So,
Anyway.
yeah. So, and classes were really small there.
Yeah.
So I want to say there was maybe 15 to 25.
Which, that is so nice.
Yeah, the
if
larger
you're struggling,
class,
you can stop and ask a question. Or,
and chemistry was a lot larger there. But they had tutors. I mean, they were great about, you don't understand this. Like, let's actually take a group of 10 of you, and we'll go to this tutor, and this tutor will go here.
That's really nice.
It was.
Huge.
It was really, really nice. And all of the professors' doors were always open. Even my chemistry class was probably only like 50 people.
Right.
So still a lot smaller than your, average university size. They all knew who we were. So, and that was nice too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how was it to transition to a larger university? Were classes bigger and...
Yes, they were to an extent. I kind of got the lucky hand there because I was in health science. I got all of my core classes done at Merrimack. So my last 2 years were highly nutrition focused.
Okay.
So everything I took minus a couple business and accounting classes, I was just in nutrition.
So the classes probably weren't so big, but by the time you get a junior, senior year, you're in your specific classes.
Right.
Yeah.
So they were a lot smaller than what they probably would have been if I had taken all
your
of
freshman chem,
Maybe
freshman math. Yeah.
Right. Probably helped you be more successful.
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, I loved UMaine, and I think a lot of it has to do with I was just taking classes that I was so interested in and really, really loved.
Right. We've talked to people that have gone to community college for their first 2 years for like engineering courses where they get those really small classes, which helps some students.
Yeah,
and
definitely. And
that
then
are looking to save
transition.
money as well. Yeah. So just want to dive into your field hockey just a bit if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it was such a big part of your high school career
Yeah.
and college, and then even at UMaine, I think you went on to...
I played club field hockey at UMaine.
Right.
Yeah, which was so much fun.
Yeah, less pressure.
Less
and
pressure. I mean,
more
it was
about just the fun of it, the love of the sport.
Yeah, it was student-led. We practiced like a couple times a week. It wasn't any
chill.
real, like you need to be here at 6 a.m. and then you need to be back here at 6 p.m. because we're running.
Oh, yeah,
like,
right.
Well, actually, we're just going to play a pickup game today.
Exactly, yeah.
So coming out of high school, you obviously must have enjoyed it so much, and you had a pretty successful high school.
Yeah, so it was definitely a transition, though, the high school to college.
Was it?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And I actually walked on. So my high school coach, Diana Walker, knew the college coach at Merrimack. Okay. So I just walked on to the team. Yeah. And so I didn't really know like what I was getting myself into,
Right.
but I knew it was going to be like next level kind of commitment. What I found really nice about being a student athlete in college was it really forced me to get these time management skills under wraps.
Yeah.
Something that I think I would have really struggled with if I was just thrown into college and didn't have like, this is where you need to be at 6 a.m. and then you go to classes all day and then you have study hall from 6 to 8 and then we have an 8 to 9 session. Wow. So if I didn't have that kind of over me, I probably would have been like, oh, I don't have to do my homework tonight.
Right.
I have a week.
I know. Sometimes when you have more time, it's actually...
I found that's what happened when I get to college. I'm like 2 classes, that's it today, and the rest of the day's mine.
Yeah. Well, funny story. So when I was out of the student athlete role at Maine, I didn't realize, I thought that one of my classes was just on Monday every week, and it wasn't until the last week in the semester that I realized that we were supposed to be meeting on Wednesdays as well.
Oh, gosh. It's like, darn.
I know. And the teacher, I got an A in the class. The teacher was like, I went up to him at the end and I was like, I'm so sorry. I had no idea I was supposed to be here on Wednesday. And he's like, you're doing a great job. Don't worry.
That is too funny.
Gosh.
Yeah.
So did you ever go in and say, geez, he just jumped the whole section?
Yes, I did. I was like, and I'd kind of look around like, well, we didn't talk about this. Silly Jilly was in her own little world.
I love that story. That's great.
That's so funny.
And relatable.
So what can you tell us about Maine, or the University of Maine at Orono?
So Maine, it seems like it's very large because there's just so many people that go there, but it's actually a very small campus. And I loved that about Maine, especially when you get into your kind of niche the last few years. You're really in the same buildings, and the way that it's laid out is like engineering classes are typically over here versus forestry and nutrition, and things are kind of in their own area.
Right.
So it's not as overwhelming, because I was really nervous about that transition. Like, am I going to get lost?
Right.
And I didn't live on campus at all. So it was really just navigating my way through campus. But that was one thing that I found was great was, you weren't walking a million miles around campus or not knowing the layout. Like, once you got that down, it was a lot smaller than it seemed.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
So
and that
you would definitely recommend it.
Absolutely. Both Merrimack and
awesome.
Maine. Yeah.
I haven't heard a negative thing about either school in terms of people that have been there to both of those.
Yeah.
Saying they didn't like it or they wish they weren't there, just positive things, which is great.
So also at Maine, you were involved in a nutrition club, and was it a sorority or Kappa Omicron Nu?
So Kappa Omicron Nu was an honor society. So it was a nutrition honor society.
Wow, kudos to you.
Excellent.
Thank you. Yeah. So
it wasn't a party at some sort.
Not really. We talked carbs, protein, fat. No. And then the nutrition club, we actually raised money and went to one of the largest nutrition conferences our senior year. We all got to go to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and it's called FNCE, Food and Nutrition Conference and Expo. And people from all over the nation will go there. So Paula Deen was there.
No kidding.
Oh my gosh. And all that stuff came out about Paula Deen.
Oh yeah, we were like, we have pictures with her.
Wait a minute. She was at our nutrition.
Take those pictures down off from Instagram. No,
yeah.
just kidding.
Yeah.
She's that Southern cook
Yeah.
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 I mean,
Yes.
her food looks amazing.
And she cooks with a lot of butter, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And that's really opinion. So everybody's very different. One of my philosophies is just meeting people where they're at. So
Yeah.
really, what are you
I
doing
love that
now?
philosophy.
And how can we change things that's still going to fit your lifestyle? I'm going to have recommendations, but at the end of the day, some people like that structure. They're like, just tell me what to do and how to do it, and I'll walk away and do that. And then there are people that really do not respond well to that.
Right.
And so I know this is coming from butter, the butter question, but
Yes.
it's hard to say one way or another because how much butter? And,
Right. It really
butter's
depends on the
technically a
person.
very natural process,
Right. There's
versus margarine versus all
two
the
ingredients, or one if you don't get the salt.
Right. So
Yeah.
it's not black and white at all. Not much of nutrition is. It's a very individualized approach.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I would imagine if you're meeting people where they're at, like if somebody's consuming a pound of butter a day, and if you can get them to cut it down to
Not even Mom had a pound of butter.
she came
Our
close.
mom was 100 pounds, but she ate as much butter as she wanted.
Right, she did. But
Aren't you going to put butter on that,
I know. What are you doing?
Warm it up and then put butter on it for crying out loud.
Then yes, if they're coming to me saying I eat a pound of butter a day, we'll cut back.
Yeah.
Slowly but
Yes.
surely. And
Right.
that's where sometimes, again, depending on who, like, you may like to go cold turkey on things, and
Right.
you may like to take baby steps.
Right.
So it's
So-
kind of part psychology, really getting to know your clients.
Yes.
And I can see that you'd be great at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely building relationships, meeting people where they're at. We practice medical nutrition therapy.
I'm sure if you're coming in with health issues related to food,
It's emotional
that
already.
It must be emotional, and I can imagine you must hear a lot.
Yeah. So a lot of people will come in and they'll say, I want to lose some weight. And so we really think immediately food and exercise, right?
Right.
But we don't take into account that sometimes, so if you're stressed, you're not sleeping well, so you're sleeping in late, so you're increasing that caffeine intake, so then you're not making the best food choices, so then you're not feeling your greatest.
Yeah.
And it's that snowball effect. We have this diagram. It's like, where can we start? Is it we need to figure out how to manage this stress first?
That's so interesting.
Yeah, and kind of
It's-
go from
It's a lot
there.
more encompassing than just food and exercise.
It's funny how food is so tied into your emotions. You always see in the movies the breakup and the girl sitting down with the gallon of ice cream and a
Right.
spoon. You
Right,
know?
right. The chocolate.
It's
Yeah.
like stereotyping. But it's true, though, depending on your mood and what's going on in your life, whether you are eating a lot or not eating at all.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many layers.
It's tricky. You're right. So it's not like, just cut back on calories and exercise.
Right, and I think that's the biggest question I'll get from my peers, like my friends and my family. They're like, well, just tell me what to do.
Yeah.
And of course
Right.
I'm going to help when I can, but sometimes it's like, well, there's more to
Right.
it than just that. And do you really
Right.
want to have this conversation at?
Yeah,
You can
right.
schedule an appointment,
Right.
Saver,
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
and we'll go over it.
We'll go over it, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Jill, you spent some time at Oregon State University. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. So to be a dietitian, once you graduate, you need to go through an accredited program in order to be eligible to take the exam to be a dietitian.
Okay.
So I graduated from Maine with my degree in food science and human nutrition, and my senior year towards the end, you apply for internships, which is an extremely stressful process.
Oh,
Yeah.
because they're competitive.
Very competitive. So when I was in school, 50% of applicants across the U.S. got matched. So
Just 50%.
yeah.
Must be
That's
so
tough.
disappointing for those that finished the degree and couldn't get matched.
Yeah. So it's,
And what do you do with that? Is there anything you can do with that degree if you don't get the internship?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
You can graduate with a 4-year nutrition degree and do lots of things. Like people will go into health coaching, that kind of thing, public health. A lot of people will go along those lines. So dietetics is really kind of a niche in the nutrition field. But in order to work in a hospital or in a clinical kind of setting, you do need that RD credential. So some people went into food service and worked in schools with their nutrition degree. Yeah. So there's definitely things you can do.
But it's more limiting. It's really...
Yeah, it's definitely up and coming, though, too, where people will kind of go, like, one of my friends graduated from UNH with a nutrition degree, and she works for the city of Portland in, like, the public health sector.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know health clubs hire nutritionists.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of, like, fitness,
fitness
exercise.
Places. Yep.
Yeah. So it's nice. So with the dietetic internship, 50% of those applicants will get matched, and it's a matching process, too. So you pick where you want to apply, and then you rank them in a computer system, and then they choose you as an applicant, and they'll rank all of their applicants in.
It must have been pins and needles.
Yeah, and it's a process. So you basically apply in February and get everything done, and then you don't find out until April.
Wow, I hate that wait.
Oh, yeah. I do too. And
everybody does.
Yeah, and you log on. Everyone in the nation logs on at the same time. So then it's even longer, like, okay.
Yeah, because of the
delay.
Right. So I had chosen a couple schools nearby, and then one in California and one in Oregon. And I put Oregon at the top. I was like, I'm just going to do it. Like, I've always wanted to leave. I didn't think I would get Oregon, my number one choice, and I did.
Oh my gosh.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
so that's
thank
how
you.
the big move out to Oregon all took place.
Yes.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, so I moved out there, and then so the internship really dives into the 3 different realms that you can go about as a dietitian. So you have experience in clinical nutrition. So I worked in hospital settings, long-term care facilities, skilled nursing facilities, and then food service, where like a food service in schools, doing all like the USDA guidelines, following those guidelines and making those meal plans. They've done a lot to school too. I know sometimes we always think like, the food
school
and
cafeteria
right,
food,
and they are definitely working, but it's policies and procedures and working. A lot of dietitians will work in legislative, like working just on policies and
that's
that kind of stuff.
Just to get try to get change,
affect some change. Yeah,
and then the third sector.
And we thank those people.
And so your impression is that school food is improving, or
it is improving. I actually, after my internship, I stayed in Oregon and worked for them through the summer in the backgrounds, and they really are moving towards whole grains, and 50% of the food that you have to have that are grains have to be whole grains.
Right.
So they're healthier options, but there's still,
is a long way to go. Yeah. And going in the right direction.
Right. So clinical food service management, and then community. So that's more of like your public health, private practice, that kind of realm.
Well, that's such a good,
it's comprehensive.
Broad exposure.
Yeah.
Did you have a favorite?
Yeah. I definitely liked outpatient stuff. So hospital, you learn very quickly. It was an awesome experience because I wouldn't have known any of the different ways I could have gone in. I learned very quickly that I didn't really want to be in a hospital. There's definitely a need and reason for the dietitian to be there. And there's a lot of math and science too in that hospital realm that people love. So like tube feeding, we do all the nutrition behind that.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
I never would have thought
I know.
that.
But of course it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep. In the ICU, so like people that are unconscious and they still need nutrition or they're going to wither away. So, we deal with all of that in the hospital setting as well. Yeah, I really liked the outpatient because, again, they were coming to you because they wanted to be there.
They were motivated and seeking help and really wanted to be there.
That's so true. So how long were you there? Like, how long does it take to get through that internship?
So my internship program was 9.5 months. They're actually changing the
format.
Yeah, so in 2020, any internship you go through, any dietetic internship will also have a master's component with it. So in mine, there are some now that do have that master's component. In mine, we did research. So we had research-based information that we did with college kids and navigating how to eat healthy in a college setting, or like what do you think a whole grain would be? And we talked a lot about the marketing behind food products. And you know how tricky it can be. Like, well, it has seeds on it, so it looks like it should be healthy.
Or everything says natural, right?
Or low fat. Well, if they're taking out that flavor, they're probably adding sugar.
And lots of it.
So mine was on that research component, but there are components that it's a 2-year program. So in 2020, everyone that wants to be a dietitian will have to go through a 2-year program, the internship and a master's. So everyone will come out with their master's. Yeah. So I'll be grandfathered in.
I was just going to ask that. Hopefully you will be.
So do you think it's necessary for that? Or there's a lot of people are saying that, they keep adding on to things. It used to be a physical therapist, used to be a master's, and now it's a PhD, right?
And or a doctorate of something.
Or a doctorate of something, And so obviously now your registered dietitian has now become a master's.
I know. I haven't run into any issues. Like, I haven't applied for anything that's like, you need your master's.
Right.
There's definitely a purpose. So at one point I was going to get my master's in public health because I really wanted to dive into grant writing.
Right.
But then I got a position in Oregon that allowed me to practice as a dietitian and do grant writing.
Right. So you get the experience.
Right. Which is, honestly, I think these days the skill set and the experience, it's about as valuable as you can get.
Yeah. As a nutritionist, you could be in a 2-week program and get a certificate and call yourself a nutritionist, but then you could also have a 4-year degree in nutrition and call yourself a nutritionist. So part of me wonders... There's a big
disparity there.
Yeah, and like
sounds like there should be a little bit more regulation that way, or identifying what you're really getting.
Right. And so sometimes I wonder if that's why they add on at the dietetic
to make
level
sure everybody's
even though there are nutritionists that maybe didn't even get a degree in nutrition, but they did like a 9.5-month program through a great school, and so they have that background. But sometimes I wonder if that's kind of why they keep adding all.
I know they might be a very good reason, but you always wonder. It's like, okay, now I have to take 2 years, and obviously that's more money,
and we get nervous about that too. I mean, that's definitely in the back of my mind. I'm going to be going up against these new dietitians that have their masters, and I just at this point don't need that right now.
No, but now it's always in the back of your mind because they've raised the bar. Well, you have so much experience that will speak volumes and make up for it.
You are grandfathered in, and maybe it just elevates the profession as a whole.
And so like my niche, I am very focused on diabetes. So I just took
you're a certified diabetes educator, and that was a pretty big achievement, right?
Yeah. So to be a certified diabetes educator, you have to be a registered dietitian or a clinical psychologist or physician or a registered nurse or a pharmacist.
Wow. So you can't just walk into that.
No. So you have to have, I want to say it's 2 years. I'm not sure if it's 2 years of clinical experience or just 2 years of diabetes experience. But I know that then you have to have either 1,000 to 2,000 hours of just diabetes related education. So as a dietitian, I was very limited to, I need to just be talking about food and exercise. So carbohydrate counting and that lifestyle management of diabetes.
Yes.
Now as an educator, I can work with like insulin dosing and do all.
It's really expanded your role.
It does a lot.
So that was definitely worth getting.
Absolutely.
For your situation.
Yes.
And again, how long did something like that take, and how did you go about doing it?
Yeah, so I didn't even know that I wanted to do that. So I worked for a Native American tribe out in Oregon.
No kidding.
Yeah, for 3 years, and I started as a dietitian and then their diabetes prevention program coordinator. So I quickly was like, wow, I like this because you're focusing on that lifestyle rather than medications and insulin. Kind of
so rewarding.
It was.
When you see progress. It
was great. I did group classes, and so it was great to see that start to finish. And then really implementing some long-term goals and how can we stay on track without having this weekly class and me kind of hovering towering over you, telling you.
And do you get to know them?
Oh, yes.
You're working regularly.
Yes. Yeah.
I can see by the look on your face it was a great experience.
Oh, I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah.
And then I worked my way up. So I ended up being the diabetes coordinator there. So I worked with a lot of the type 2 adults and management around that. But again,
what is the difference, type 1 and type 2?
Type 1 is insulin dependent.
Okay.
So it's usually childhood onset. Sometimes people can get it later in life. It's not
But
usually.
not normally.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's usually that childhood onset. So that's what I do part-time. I'm working with type 1 pediatric setting. So these insulin dependent kiddos that if they don't have insulin, it's a life or death thing.
Oh. Is there any understanding how that happens? Or
There's lots of research out there. There's been lots of improvement in technology and trying to find a way to create a pancreas that's gonna spit out insulin, but it's basically the death of the beta cells in the pancreas, and so it's not allowing insulin to be made and released when it needs to be, and so that's why they have to take the insulin shots or pumps. It's very sad. It's very emotional and mentally sometimes straining, because I think about my nephews, like, oh, this poor child.
Oh, I know.
Like my nephew running around like, hey, let's check your blood sugar. Like those are the types of kids I'm working with that have to do these things.
Yeah, it's pretty heartbreaking.
Yeah. And then type 2 can be lifestyle managed. So we're seeing it a lot more in the pediatric setting, which is...
That's what I'm hearing.
disappointing.
Yeah, it is.
I know. I feel like growing up, that wasn't as prevalent of an issue.
No.
We didn't have much TV or social media did not exist.
No.
And there was just a lot of running around and playing outside. And
Yeah, there was less keeping us idle.
yeah.
But I don't know if that's the only reason or...
I mean, there's a lot out there. Some different races have a higher prevalence.
Right.
But
They're
is
just
that
predisposition. Yeah.
right, that predisposition to it.
And
But
I've heard some things that in some areas they lack good grocery stores or healthy food options
and
or
that's-
affordable healthy food options. So that plays a role too, I'm sure.
Yeah, and that's what I dealt with a lot in Oregon. So I lived in it was a city technically, but I worked about 30 minutes outside of that area, and there was one grocery store. I mean,
Wow.
there's not much to choose from, and so you think about prices of things. If you're one grocery store, you can hike up those prices because people are going to pay.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes buying that processed cheap chips or whatever, some of that stuff is actually less expensive than buying organic vegetables and fruits. And
So we work a lot with that too, budget.
Oh.
Another thing you don't think about as a dietitian, we work budgeting, grocery store tours,
That's
let me help
so
navigate
awesome,
you.
though.
Yeah.
I mean, people
so
should
tough.
know that if they need help with that.
Yeah.
In prioritizing,
Okay, so you're saying that after working with the Native American tribe, that gave you enough hours?
Yeah, so with them, because I was working in diabetes, I don't remember if it's 1,000 or 2,000 hours
That's
that
okay.
you need.
Look it up.
Yeah. Or the 2 years of experience.
Yeah.
So that gave me enough time to be eligible to take the exam. So then you can apply. You have to apply, and they have to approve you to take the exam.
Yeah.
And they can audit you, so you have to have like a log of all the hours you've done, which is why I should know if it was 1,000 or 2,000. But I took the exam and I passed, and I was like, goodbye.
Right.
And that's done and forgotten about.
We're not
at this
keeping
point.
track of hours.
Right. So, so that made me eligible, and then I was just ready to move home back to Maine, my roots, and so that's when I started with the private practice, and then I took on the role in the type 1 world instead of that type 2, which was great. I actually took probably 9 months when I started with the pediatric setting to really understand that side of things, because I was very, very familiar with the lifestyle management and type 2. So this allowed me...
interesting. So that was another big learning curve or development.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And it really helped me study and prepare for that exam.
Did you feel like the exam was really hard? Is it hard to prepare for?
Yeah.
If I didn't prepare, it would have been very hard.
Right.
Yeah.
Basically what I did some webinars online. There's different areas. So there's like a nutrition and exercise and insulin and medication. All of the things that I had named, all of those positions that you have to either be, so like the psychology, we have to know all of that. So you have to know diabetes from the standpoint of a psychologist, a dietitian, a nurse, an MD.
So important.
Yeah.
It sounds like, though. So the emotional aspect or the overall health aspect or the administration of meds or whatever. Yeah.
Right. So it covers a lot.
A lot of material.
And how long is it?
It's 4 hours.
4 hours.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Computerized. Yeah,
It's
I
long
think
enough.
it was 200 questions.
And all multiple choice, like no essay.
2 right answers, pick the best.
Okay.
When did you find out?
That day.
I hate those 2 right answers, pick the best.
I do too.
It
So
makes it so hard.
I did a lot of practice tests.
Yeah.
I did a lot of those webinars that went through each different section. And then there's something called the Diabetes Standards of Care. They come out with a new one each year. And so I really combed through that.
So great
Learned
tips
guidelines.
for anybody about to take this.
Yeah, because you have to know, again, ages and stages. So pediatric type 1, pregnancy, gestational diabetes, all the way up through. If you're diagnosed with gestational, sometimes you have a higher risk of developing type 2 after, as well as the baby. So
that must be worrisome to get that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But the good news is type 2, you can manage it with some commitment on your part.
Right. So you can always
And with the help of Jill Boyce.
So you can always go back. I like to think of it as levels. So if we start with food and exercise, that lifestyle, and then typically it's an oral med, multiple oral meds, and then insulin. If you're managing it with that food and exercise, you can always come off of the insulin, off of the oral meds, off.
Nice. So it's like you see the steps of progress along the way, and it must be so rewarding when you can check one of those off.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Jill, we noticed when I was researching your bio that you have some volunteer experience at Camp Carefree. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So in my undergrad, one way to be a very stick out in the process of getting a dietetic internship is to do some volunteer experience, work in the nutrition world a little bit in your undergrad. So I volunteered at Camp Carefree. It's for type 1 pediatric. It's in New Hampshire. And I just did the behind the scenes food stuff. So carb counts. You know, we did some nutrition classes with the kiddos as well as exercise. You know, how's exercise going to affect your blood sugars?
Yeah.
Do we have to cut back on insulin before you go exercise? Do we need to eat a snack without insulin to bring your blood sugars up to get that
A lot
up?
to think about.
A lot to think about. And that's probably where I was like, wow, I could really work in the diabetic world.
That was your first introduction to
Other than like, you know, textbook
but
stuff.
It's such a difference when it's
And
in
it
real
was,
life.
I mean, these kids are so resilient.
Yeah.
I mean, like one thing that really sticks out to me is there was a little boy that had to give himself his first insulin shot in his leg. And he was so nervous. He was so scared. He was the cutest little thing.
How
crying.
old would you say? If you
Probably 6.
Heartbreaking.
So I went over and I'm like, what's up, buddy? And then this other little boy, same age, comes over, starts rubbing his back. He's like, I did it yesterday and it was great. Like, you got
What a
this.
little kid. What a great little kid.
I know.
cute.
And so he did it. And
But
he
what
was
a great experience to be at a camp with others that are going through it. That must be so invaluable to the young kids.
Right. Diabetes is the normal at that camp. Not the exception, right? And I like that. That must give them
They
a
love
good
it.
feeling.
I mean, they look forward to those camps every summer.
So, Jill, would you recommend to other young people looking to this as a career to get out there and do those volunteer experiences?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because it's
a good way to identify if this is really the field for you and what you're...
Yeah, like work in a kitchen. That's what I did in my undergrad. I worked in a kitchen in a retirement home. I volunteered at gyms. I volunteered at camps, different things that way. Because the internship really helps navigate, you know, what you want to do, but doing those things beforehand and really seeing, you know, is this for me? Because the internship process is hard.
Sure.
And so if it's not for you, it's probably better to know that sooner.
And this is so important. This is why this is such a good tip, because it's a lot of time and money spent. And if you can find out earlier on by getting those wonderful experiences experiences that either confirm definitely this is a path for me or not.
Yeah.
So, Jill, I'm really interested to hear about your private practice at Savers.
Yes.
Can you tell us all about that?
Absolutely. So Jenna is the owner of it, and I technically work for her. So she runs everything, and I come in and help see clients. I make my own schedule, and some of those clients just are kind of walk-in, they find us online or they find us through social media. Some of them are referrals from doctors. So doctors, some of them, we have a program through Quest. So it's a 90-day nutrition program, and an hour is through Quest with their fitness.
So Quest being a fitness facility.
Yeah, so they do the exercise portion, and then we do the nutrition portion. So some of those clients will come through there, word of mouth. Yeah, so I love that position because...
what would people, if they wanted to schedule an appointment with you, what issues? Is this all diabetic?
No.
Okay,
so anything, weight loss, fitness, diabetes. I'm mainly with diabetics and weight loss.
Okay.
But I'll never turn anyone away.
You have expertise in all of those areas.
So, and a lot comes with that. So with diabetes, sometimes there's heart disease, high blood pressure. So really we see anything from disordered eating all the way up to management of chronic diseases.
So anybody with any of those issues going on could reach out and get some one-on-one private consultation.
Yeah, and prevention too. Prevention's a big one that is coming up. We always talk about treating a disease once we already have it.
With meds or something after the fact.
Right.
I think that's really growing in popularity too, or getting more support from health insurance.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Which is wonderful. So I have clients that come and we sit down together and we make a meal plan for the week, and we make a grocery list, and they have no medical problems. They're not really coming for a specific reason other than they want help navigating through what should I be eating.
So even if you're a perfectly healthy individual, just wanting to make sure you're
stay healthy
and that you don't have the skill set maybe to navigate all of that.
Yeah.
So what's the best way to make an appointment with you?
So we have a website. It's saverflh.com. So Savor Food, Life, and Health.
Okay.
And that's SAVOR.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can book right online an appointment?
So you can inquire. We have a Facebook page as well, Savor Food, Life, and Health. So people will just send messages right on there.
Okay.
And then right on our website, we have our phone numbers as well.
Okay. And all those links will be in the show notes. So if anybody's driving and listening to this, it will be in the show notes. So not to worry about writing it down.
There you go.
So also wanted to just touch base. What is a typical day like for you? And also, what are the advantages and drawbacks if you had to pick some of your profession?
Yeah, so typical day at Savor is usually me seeing a handful of clients in the morning, and then I have my day to go get my groceries done and go to the gym.
People are not going to want to hear this.
They're going to want to be me.
No, I was just going to say that.
Exactly. So I, get my car inspected.
Right. That's real life. You get those errands.
Which is really hard to do with a typical 9-to-5 job. So then...
brings you back to your number one love about your job is flexibility.
Yeah. And then I'll typically go back in and see. So I'm seeing a lot of my clientele mornings, and then I kind of have a good chunk of my day, and then afternoon into the early evening.
Perfect.
At my other job with type 1 pediatric, it's very go, go, go. I mean, I don't stop there. So it's
How often are you doing that?
I'm there Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Okay.
And then I'm at Savor Mondays and Tuesdays, and sometimes I'll open up my schedule Saturday mornings.
Right. If you can't fit in everybody that needed to be fit in, which is really nice.
Yeah.
So what's your typical day like when you're seeing the pediatric patients?
Typically on Wednesdays and Fridays, it's a clinic schedule. So there's a physician that works with us as well. So I'll see a family or a patient for an hour as an educator, and we'll go over how are things going, safety, insulin site rotations. Sometimes I'll do food and nutrition when I can. Sometimes it's specifically just food and nutrition visits, but a lot of times it's insulin management, changing insulin doses. So as kids grow up, you're having to change those things, and then or gain or lose or there's just lots behind that. And then they'll see the provider. So my Wednesdays and Fridays are usually really busy, and we see them for an hour at a time. So it's literally like 8 o'clock a.m. till 5 p.m. I'm seeing.
Right.
Wow.
Every hour you have a patient.
Every hour on the hour, And then...
You must be exhausted at the end of those days.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah,
sure.
And then, but that's what makes it so nice to work for both part-time, because I
Right.
have that flexibility Monday,
Absolutely.
Tuesday to get the things done that I need to.
It seems like a really good balance.
Yeah, that does seem like a nice combination.
And that's huge too. I mean, this is just kind of my own plug, but like that work-life balance can really get away from us sometimes. And that's one thing I really, really try to keep in check is you have to have fun too, right?
Yeah,
so
you
if you can do something that you love to do and have fun doing it, that's ideal. But sometimes that's not always the case.
Correct.
So
Right.
still finding the time to do the things that make you feel good and make you happy is so, so important.
Well, it seems like you have that figured out pretty well.
I'm trying.
Well, plus, if you have that balance, it plays into your nutrition too, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You're more positive and you
I
make
did-
better food choices.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I did want to ask you, knowing all you know, do you like eat sweets? And
Well, I just found out recently I'm allergic to chocolate.
Oh, no.
I found out in
Deb.
November.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I
just-
started breaking out into hives and
Oh,
welts.
oh, gosh, of all things.
Yeah, so my sweet craving isn't as prevalent just because I had to give it up. Like I'm scared to do
Yeah.
it.
No.
But yeah, I eat ice cream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm human. There
Right.
are times where I'm emotional and I want
Right.
to eat too.
Right.
I like to think I'm good probably 80-90% of the time. But
I
you
think
have
that's
your,
a good rule of thumb, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have
The
your
80% rule?
moments.
Yeah, the 80% rule.
I like that.
But yeah, no, you'll probably see me out eating ice cream at
Yeah,
some point.
right. And one of your patients or clients sees you and they're like,
They're like, what are you doing, Missy?
is that on the plan?
Did you see the salad I had for lunch?
Yeah, I like to practice what I preach. So
No.
again, fitting in the things you
Fitting
love.
in the things
Yeah.
you love.
But still being able to find that balance
But
where
I think if you set the bar too high, you can't.
No,
you can't
nobody can
maintain
be
it.
perfect.
So
Right.
if you allow yourself some guilty pleasures, it's a lot more doable.
agreed.
Yeah.
So tell us about, if you have one off the top of your head, and if you don't, that's fine. But do you have a success story you want to share with us, like a client that you worked with that you can think, hey, I am so happy how this turned out.
Yeah.
It just made your day.
Yeah, so I had a client through Savor, and she was fine with me sharing this story. So she came in with an A1C. So she was just diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. She had no idea what it was. She had no idea how to manage it. She just needed some help navigating. She started on medication, which typically, so with the lab results that she had, typically they would start you on medication. But she was like, I really want to get off of this. So she came in, her A1C, which is an average blood sugar number, was, I think it was 10.9%. So anyways, we worked really hard for 3 months, worked really hard on food choices, on getting some exercise in. So she lost, I want to say she lost like 15 to 20 pounds.
Wow.
And then when she went back to get her A1C checked, it came down into normal range. Yeah, so she was so excited.
happy.
Yeah, and she got off her medication.
Yeah,
and
that's
we built those
huge.
habits. So now,
It's
she actually
It's
moved.
a lifestyle, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So she moved. So I don't see her anymore, but she'll touch base from time to time and just she's
I'm staying on track.
Yeah,
or-
yeah.
Does she
Yeah.
touch base? That's awesome.
Yeah, it is. And you build that relationship with people
Right.
that you're working so
You
closely
feel like you
with.
went through it together almost,
Yeah,
right?
if
Like,
you go through the trenches with somebody, there's a bond there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
that's a good story.
But yeah, just wanted to, before we end, wanted to touch on advantages and drawbacks. So
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of the advantages.
Yeah, so drawbacks are probably just all the new stuff, new trends, yo-yo diets, all of that stuff that comes out that really keeps us on our toes. And there's always a new, they'll call it something new every time, right? So,
Right. The
but
keto diet,
Right.
the paleo diet,
Right.
the no carb, whatever.
Right. Right. And there are advantages to some of those things, but it's really important to do them the right way, because sometimes we just think about what's happening physically on the outside and how that's affecting, this is what we wanted, the weight loss, but we don't always think about how it's affecting us on the inside.
That's
and
true.
You know, what it's doing to our organs.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
And so I think that's one of the biggest drawbacks is there's just so much out there. And so, you know, using some of us as that professional to help comb through some of these things and really give you the advantages and disadvantages to what you're doing to your body.
Right, for sure. So anybody going into this profession, be prepared to hear the education never ends.
Yeah, the education never ends.
There's the soup diet, apparently.
Oh, what's that
you
one?
You just eat soup.
Oh my gosh. What about that one where you just like a cookie in the morning? A cookie. Seriously, that was one. No,
there is one. It's like a cookie in the morning.
And like one at night and a shake at lunch. I don't even know what it was, but I was like, seriously.
And so,
where's the nutrition?
Right. And that's what I will think. And other people will be like, well, I'm cutting back on my calories.
I still get to have a cookie.
Yeah, I still get to have a cookie. What's the
what
downside?
Size cookie are we talking?
Yeah. What would you recommend to a young person, or anybody, not necessarily young, anybody that's interested in pursuing this profession? Do you have any tips or what education or training or pitfalls to avoid, things that you learned the hard way maybe? I don't know.
I think just college in general, doing some general courses initially. That way you can, if you have an idea of what you want to do, you're able to, you know, I knew I wanted to go into the science medical field. I just didn't know which direction.
So you were in the right area.
Right. Yeah. So taking those general courses early on, that way you can transfer things. You made the point at Merrimack that semester you just kind of threw your hands up. That's actually when you
figured out nutrition.
Yeah. Right. That's how things happen.
So maybe you would recommend that. Do that earlier on.
If you hit a wall, don't
try a bunch of different things. Yeah.
And then volunteering throughout college too, and seeing, you know, even if it's once. Like I volunteered at Camp Carefree for 3 days.
Right.
I stayed there, and then that was it. I moved on to the next thing. So really trying to go into the different directions of how could I use this and where can I look. I mean, us as dietitians, I'll have students come in all the time and just shadow me for a day. You know, ask those questions and don't be afraid to do that.
And you would welcome that if
absolutely.
Anybody. So that's another good tip to job shadow.
How do you feel about the availability of jobs in your field? Is it hard to get one? Or?
It can be. This one really fell into my lap with the private practice, so I got lucky, but I still see people struggling to find jobs. A lot of people, usually in the clinical setting, so hospital, they'll have something, whether that's per diem. So if that's the route you want to go, take those things. It's hard to say settle for a position, right? But if you want to be somewhere and you have to start at the bottom, work your way up.
Sometimes it's just necessary to get your foot in the door somewhere to
get the experience,
get something on the resume, right?
But because I like to think, because there's so many different directions you can go in as a dietitian, I mean, you can be so creative. So if there isn't that traditional job out there, you know, coming up with something like private practice, like looking into that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Right. Well, Jill, this has been an awesome and so informative interview, or conversation, I should say. But I think anybody out there thinking about becoming a registered dietitian or counseling on diabetic care, I know they learned a lot from this. And hey, definitely check Jill out at Savor.
Yeah, check Jill out at Savor. And I really enjoyed talking today, too. I learned some stuff, so I always love that. Love hearing about people's careers and their paths. So
absolutely. Thanks for coming in today.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
All right, take care.
What a wonderful guest Jill was.
She was excellent. It was so interesting to hear about all her work and her passion for helping people of all ages to manage their diabetes, diet, lifestyle, health concerns.
I know Jill is the right person for the job, as her kindness and empathy for her clients, as well as her strong desire to help others, really comes through in this interview.
Not to mention how smart she is. Clearly smart.
Right? She's got her facts down when it comes to becoming a diabetes educator or a registered dietitian.
Yeah. Anyone with dietary concerns or needing help managing their diabetes, food issues, or even people with just a general desire to stay fit and healthy and receive professional diet and exercise advice should reach out to Jill at Savor, Food, Life, and Health in Saco, Maine.
Absolutely. Jill will definitely take great care of you. We will include all of the links to Savor in the show notes.
Yep, we will. And hey, everybody have a great day, and thanks so much for listening.
Yes, and please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. This will really help our podcast to grow, and it will help others to find our podcast.
Yep, and a giant thanks to anyone who has taken the time to subscribe, rate, or review our podcast.
Yes, we love each and every one of you.
We sure do.
Have a great day, everyone. And as a final note, anyone interested in learning more about our business, academic and career advising services, we invite you to visit our website, and we will include that link in the show notes. We assist people with changing careers, possibly finding that first job out of college, the college admissions process, selecting an academic major, deciding on a career, or things of that nature. You can check it all out on our website, Academic and Career Advising Services. We are located in Kennebunk, Maine. However, for your convenience, we also offer video conferencing services. You're never too old to change your career or to go back to college, and you're never too young to begin thinking about your future. We enjoy serving people of all ages.
If you enjoyed listening to today's podcast and would like to help us out, could you please leave a rating or review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts?
This really helps others to find our podcast.
We would greatly appreciate it. Also, to get all the latest on upcoming episodes, please follow us on social media. All of those links will be included in the show notes. Thank you and have a great day.
Thanks so much for listening.